Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
This is So I'm Watching the Show, your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. I wanted to record an intro because we're going to release some very old test footage of ours that was Riverdale. We covered season 1 and 2 of Riverdale, and because we have had so much fun with that show, for better and worse, and because it's been one of some of our most popular content, I was like, we've got this footage. It's not great. Like, our audio's bad. Yeah. We look different. There is no set. Yeah. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, I think the conversation is good. Mm-hmm. And I think it's worth releasing.
It's in my old dining room.
So yeah, we're definitely going to release season 2. And that's what this is. This is just a little intro for our Riverdale season 2 content. So you got to have options.
I see.
So please do enjoy.
We're wearing very similarly styled shirts today that are from like the most different things you could imagine.
They both have vampires and werewolves in them. What are you talking about?
That is true. That is true. Well,
I can see you being like...
The proceeds from mine went to benefit immigration, so...
What was it called? The White Worm or something?
House of the Devil.
And how? Oh my god, y'all. So...
Do you remember that thing we said a couple episodes ago about how...
this is the moment?
No, sometimes the time stops
that
and
was
the
last
earth
week.
stands still. Was that just the last one?
The planets
No, it was
align.
two. It was two.
Okay.
The last one was that anthology one. But wow, are there moments in this episode?
Because also in that episode, I said that might be my favorite episode of Riverdale, and
this might be
my favorite episode of Riverdale. It is so funny.
It's very funny. It's not supposed to be funny, though.
Well, but it's not supposed to be funny.
But I feel I must insist that the parts that we laugh at are supposed to be serious.
Aren't they? Like, I think the writers know full well. In what reality do Archie and Veronica know not the name of the song Mad World, but that it's from Donnie Darko?
Okay. Archie doesn't know the name of the song. That checks out.
Well, I mean, has he seen American Idol in the past?
No, he does real music.
Yeah, so he would know regardless. I cannot remember. Did we mention Mr. Simpson, the janitor? The creepy janitor from last week.
We haven't really mentioned him because I was writing him off because I remembered knowing it wasn't him.
Spoiler.
It happens in this episode.
No. You don't remember this story.
No, I don't. I thought this was the episode where they don't talk about him again.
They so do.
Oh shit. Well then I have no idea.
Now I kind of want to keep this in.
I thought
you
we
have
done.
No clue what is coming.
No.
Okay, so...
This was like 3 years ago.
I remember. You've been slacking lately.
I'm not slacking.
It used to be like a steel trap.
Look,
and
this show, I love this show, and it is so much fun in the moment, but it goes in one ear and out the other. Mm-hmm. It does not matter. I
kind of want to tell you, but...
Well, we can wait. No, let me rediscover it on my own. It'll be like I'm watching it for the first time.
Yeah, so the character Mr. Simpson is very important, and on this show, they set him up like he was maybe harassing Josie. Yeah. Which, when we said we wished that we got more of Josie and Cheryl's relationship, not like this. Not like this.
Not like this.
I forgot. I really did. I forgot that it kept going, and I forgot how terrible Cheryl actually did remain. Yeah. Because we've always loved her because she's like a queen.
She is what she is.
She's the archetype that people like. But she stays terrible longer than I remember. Like her, knocking the milkshake off for FP to clean up, and do you remember his little uniform you enjoyed?
I do. Soda Jerk FP is my jam.
Get you another milkshake right away. On the house.
In a way that I was not anticipating.
So this is also... We've been charting Alice and our love of Alice, and this is where she really starts becoming the Alice that we know today.
I do wish we stayed with this Alice a little longer. Like Serpent Alice?
Yeah, but I only tolerate the serpent stuff. You were way into it, but it's like, for me...
I'm not way into it. I like this Alice because she seems to have no inhibitions.
Yeah. Well, she tries to call Betty's bluff, but then Betty calls hers.
Yeah.
So...
And here's the thing. I'm not into the serpent stuff. I'm into, like, Jughead and FP.
The
rest of the serpent stuff is, like, very... Like, when it becomes a gang of children and, like, Tall Boy is no longer an issue...
Yeah.
I actually weirdly do enjoy when it is a motorcycle gang of children.
I like the serpents as a concept, and I like that they're a component of this show, but for, like, the rest of this season, the show becomes the serpents.
It's a bigger deal than it
Everybody
needs to
joins this biker gang,
Yeah.
and it's, like, not Riverdale anymore. It's
Right.
like, what is this biker gang spinoff?
Yeah.
That, like...
I agree.
And it does sort of fall away in
Well, it's-
season 3 and 4.
It's
but
also the type of thing where, like, if you spend too much time or if you, like, put up too much of a magnifying glass or a spotlight on the serpents, it absolutely falls to pieces. And that's what they're running into.
Well, it's also, it kind of, Riverdale kind of gives me this, like, Neverland vibe, where it's like, we have pirates and Indians and mermaids and fairies and lost boys, and it's like, there's this sort of, like, combination
Yeah.
of elements. But it's like, if we just go off and watch The Lost Boys for, like, an entire season and a half, I would
Yeah.
be like, remember when there were fairies on this? Like,
Right.
It just sort of, you need to kind of balance it out.
You've got to have all of it in there.
Because everybody goes whole hog in with the serpents. And, I mean, I suppose it makes sense, I guess, because it's Jughead. And so it's like, you get Betty, who's dating Jughead, you get, like, her desire to, like...
to be a part of his world. Yeah.
And then Archie trying to be a good best friend, but
Yeah.
it's like, there's a point where literally everybody's a serpent. And
Except for Veronica never actually.
No, she doesn't.
She never
but,
actually gets in there.
But
no, I agree with you. I think it's the type of thing that makes the show richer for having it, but it also is like, but why are we having so much of it?
Yeah. So FP gets out of jail. Alice goes with them, and they are so hot out of the gates with this Alice and FP thing. Mm-hmm. I forgot. Like, I mean, I remembered that there was, like, a couple there.
Yeah.
And what's weird about it is they're both on the show. Like, for 2 full seasons, they are series regulars. And for, like, the bulk of season 4, they're even, spoiler alert, I guess, they're even living in the same house.
Yeah.
But it's like, they have next to no material together.
It's a spoiler, but there's no context, so they don't know
Sure.
why. Yeah, no, I agree. It's like, but so they're like essentially living in the same home together, but you're right, they don't share screen time.
It's like
at all.
incidental.
It's bizarre.
And, you know, again, spoiler alert, but we do at a point get, you know, a scene of them in bed together. But it's weird.
It's so brief, and it amounts to nothing, and it does not continue.
It's a weird non-committal thing on the show's part, that it's like, you can tell in future seasons that they sort of lose focus.
Yeah.
Like, they're not entirely sure what the primary story is, you know? But that's sort of... I'm rambling. That's neither here or there. I'm a little bit wiped out, actually, because I was laughing so hard watching the episode that it's like I've already started to come down.
You're like, I'm down for that now.
It's so... What we said about there not being a lot of sex on the show is false, apparently, because we open with a montage of Archie and Veronica coping through carnal desire.
Not a good.
I'm a rebel just for kicks, man.
I mean, that's a great song, but it's not a good.
And so there's a scene, as you like to say, on the Afterglow where Archie is just like
literal Afterglow. They're like on an animal skin rug in front of a fireplace.
And Archie is like, "I love you." And it's a very honest moment. And, you know, we do give Archie so much crap, but it's like, KJ Apa, I mean, he's not going to be winning any Oscars or Emmys anytime soon.
No, I mean, he's not as good as Lily.
But he's actually so much better than I ever gave him credit for in the first run, because he really sells this stuff, and they sort of immediately both panic, which I get, especially with them being teenagers and this being a teenage, soap opera, whatever. But it also is just like, we make too big a deal out of that, and that out of saying I love you, we make way too big of a deal of it, and the show actually even acknowledges that within the story.
Yeah.
And there's this moment where, after they've both talked to their respective parents about it, and Veronica's already kind of figured out that she has sort of warped, because
her parents never say I love you to each other.
Well, and also she was a socialite, so it's like her reality
is a little warped.
Yeah.
But I think we cannot discount the fact that Hermione and Hiram never say I love you to each other. That is damaging to a child.
And so basically there's this scene where Archie, of all people, is like, you know what? Don't worry about it. It was just a moment of honesty. I said what I was feeling. We don't have to be on the same page. Like, I was watching the scene, I'm like, honestly, the dream.
Yeah, but he was not sincere. Yeah.
After he finishes saying it.
Okay.
But, like, as it was happening, I was like, where is this king?
Yeah.
Like, and then within she's like, oh, thank you, and doesn't say it back, and he immediately, it's like 0 to butthurt and 3.5. And he's like, well, we can go.
Well, I signed us up for a duet if you can handle that at least.
No, he was like,
I signed us up for a duet, that Donnie Darko song you love, or hopefully strongly like, at least.
Archie.
Or can you not do that either?
So then, and all of this is at FP's retirement party. So it's at a biker gang. Biker bar
at the White Worm,
with a literal gang there.
Yeah.
And so then these two 16-year-olds, in the midst of like an emotional meltdown, get up and sing karaoke Mad World.
Arguably the most depressing song in existence. Hands down.
I've never been at any sort of party and thought I need teenagers singing karaoke.
Do you know what would be great right now? You know what would be great is if we just really brought this party to a grinding halt by hearing karaoke of Mad World.
And in reality, they're tone deaf as hell. It's like, this is the glamorized TV version. And
it's
so
just two kids, his voice is cracking.
And so they're fighting through the song. She's going full Christina Aguilera with like the mic taps and everything.
And this.
So they're fighting through the song, and then she storms off, and then he storms off. And I promise it makes sense. Does it though? Does it make sense in the context?
Not really.
It makes sense in the context. So everybody starts booing, I guess, because the entertainment stopped. And so Betty's like, my time to shine. And so
but we should mention she's been planning this the whole time.
That's why I was like, it makes sense in the context.
She's come beforehand to talk to Tony about like how she can like really get into Jughead's world. So.
And so Tony,
this is my time to shine.
So Tony, the 16-year-old bartender at this biker bar, bartendrix at this biker bar with strippers, explains the process. Yeah. So
how to become a serpent. Or
so
whatever.
a third 16-year-old girl dives up onto the stage to finish singing Mad World.
She actually like gently walks out, but
meanders onto the stage
sleepily, as though she's just had Quaaludes.
Mad World, and then lazily takes her clothes off, and then strips. But it's like she's wearing like a bustier. Like it's
very cute, actually.
She looks gorgeous. I said it's very Brittany Murphy, circa the Pussycat Dolls.
Sure. Yeah.
But she just sort of goes around the pole like this
again. As though she's on Quaaludes.
And then I think she does this.
and Jughead is speechless.
Mortified.
But yes.
Mortified. Also, we neglected to mention her mother is in the audience as well, dressed like a straight-up trollop.
Yeah.
And has already had 3 shots of tequila.
Harlotress, I think we might say. Okay, so yeah. So her mother is there, her boyfriend is there. Blessedly, Archie and Veronica have fled the scene in near tears. And then in the song...
The audience is stunned into silence.
Yeah.
There is silence.
God, that someone starts clapping until we find out it's FP, her boyfriend's dad.
Her boyfriend's dad has to get on the stage and be like, let's have a round of applause for her, in which Tallboy is more than happy to oblige. So Tallboy launches into the applause.
And then FP very gallantly gives her his serpent jacket, to which Alice literally goes, and then she walks off stage.
And Alice attempts to be a mother where she's like, Elizabeth, we're going home now, come with me. And Betty's like, no. And she's like, Elizabeth. And then she's like, well, I'm leaving. And she just turns around and leaves. And I was like, I really like if I were to ever be a parent, it would be I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas.
I said your name. I said your whole name out loud and you did not follow. So we're done.
So she just leaves. And so and we mentioned that they went to go get FP out of jail, where Alice was on him immediately about is it true what they say about men in prison being sexually frustrated? And I don't know where that voice came from for Alice. I've never used it before and will probably never use it again. But then also they have this really loaded conversation in Pops where he's like, why don't you leave him? About how? And it's what?
And so he's like, why don't you leave him? And then he's like, they both are like, oh, gasp. And he goes, at home for the night.
Right.
Just leave him, full stop. That's what we were shooting for.
It's just, let me see. God.
That is obviously the set piece of the episode.
So they do, so everybody breaks up weirdly.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense at all. And to my remembrance, it does not really stick for long.
No, not really. But this is also where, this is the second occurrence of the show threatening us with Archie and Betty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not against.
I had forgotten that they did actually go back to that, a couple times towards the beginning.
I like Archie and Betty. That's my reality. And I'm not actually committed to it in any real capacity. I'm not really an OTP person in general.
I mean, I am, but I'm not on this show. I don't really have anybody really on this show.
I've accepted the whole Betty and Jughead thing. I'm fine with it, but
they have such good chemistry.
Sure.
I think their chemistry is great.
Yeah. I do not have negative things to say.
Feels like you do.
No, I just don't care. I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I can see. So yeah, they're kind of broken up. Veronica is tore up, which I don't fucking...
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's you did this.
I would say not in a terrible sense, but it's she's the one who can't say I love you. What is she although in fairness, when that almost exact same thing happened on Gilmore Girls, I was firmly on the girls' side.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the part where they are teenagers, and in some capacity, this is a show for teenagers.
Sure.
Kind of, maybe.
So it has to be dramatic, and it has to be end of the world when your partner won't say I love you, and it's just
we carry on with the Riverdale Reaper. We find out that there was...
For the first time, we find out. I don't remember anything.
It's
yeah,
the crux of the mid-season finale.
Yeah, I don't recall.
There's a grave plot.
I thought this was it.
There's a grave plot, 6 feet, hole dug. Someone goes in a casket.
There's nothing.
A gun is shot, I think, twice.
There's nothing happening in here.
It's a Christmas episode, if that helps.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
It's and then we go on to other things for a solid 7 episodes.
No, yeah. Sorry.
So, well, stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll find out.
But yeah, so the Riverdale Reaper. Wait, so is the guy that killed the family the Reaper? Or,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Riverdale Reaper killed this family for reasons. He shot the mother and father and 2 of the kids, which the show actually helps us understand by having Archie and Veronica explore the house that has apparently not been cleaned from the murders decades ago. Because while we don't see the children getting shot like we do the parents, we do see the pool of blood on the floor.
Yeah. well, it's like nothing's ever happened to the house because it's still, like, that's all there. And then the detective who was working on the case, like, had all his case files there so he could, like, keep working on it uninterrupted, I guess. And there are still the, like, height lines on the door jamb.
And so it turns out there was a third child that got away that we, at this point, determine is Mr. Swinson.
Svensson, yeah.
And
janitor.
so these two 15-year-olds, two teenagers, basically accost and interrogate the shit out of him.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
hilarious.
and also he, like, they call him Mr. Whatever, his real name.
Yeah.
And it's Joseph whatever. And he runs away until they corner him in some room. And he's like, I was scared. And I was like, of two children?
He gives them so much power over him.
And then he just spills his whole
They
guts.
also, Hiram refers to Archie in this episode as burly, which, okay, KJ Apa is cut. He
Yeah.
has muscle tone.
He's fit.
But
Burly is not.
No.
Like, Moose is burly.
Moose is the closest we have to
Moose is burly.
Sheriff Keller is like...
Sheriff Keller is pretty burly.
But it's like what is KJ Apa, like 5'10" and 160 pounds at most?
No, he's
like,
not. Well, they also, their excuse is like, what? I'd like to. First of all, they basically told Veronica last week, stop hanging out with Archie. You can't do that. And so then they're banging all over town, just like going against the will of Hiram or whatever. And then they have the nerve to be like, I'd like to see Archie around a little more. He's burly and devoted to you. And I just was like, oh God.
They effectively like keep banging him enough to protect you, but don't love.
Don't say I love you.
Yeah, it was.
You know, Hiram and Hermione are like, love is a weakness, Veronica. Mija.
Chanclas.
What?
Chanclas.
Chanclas.
The amount of puertos. Just a handful of
Just
Spanish
doorway?
words. Yeah. Yeah. Just a handful of Spanish words I know.
Oh, brother.
Okay. So, sure. We're gonna watch the next episode.